Common law. What is common law? Common law is the body of unwritten laws based on legal precedents established by the court. Common law influences the decision-making process in usual cases where the outcome cannot be determined based on existing statutes or written rules of law. The US common law system evolved from a British tradition that spread to North America during the 17th and 18th century colonial period. Common law is also practiced in Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, India, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. Understanding common law. A precedent known as Steyer's diseases is the history of judicial decisions which form the basis of evolution for future cases. Common law, also known as case law, relies on detailed records of similar situations and statutes. Because there is no official legal code that can apply to a case at hand. The judge presiding over a case determines which precedents apply to that particular case. The example set by higher courts is binding on cases tried in lower courts. This system promotes stability and consistency in the US legal justice system. However, lower courts can choose to modify or deviate from a precedents. If they are outdated or if the current case is substantially different from the precedent case. Lower courts can also choose to overturn the precedent, but this rarely occurs. Common law versus civil law. Civil law is a comprehensive codified set of legal statutes created by legislators. A civil system clearly defines the cases that can be brought to court. The procedures for handling claims and the punishment for an offense. Judicial authorities use the condition in the applicable civil code to evaluate the facts of each case and make legislative decisions. While civil law is regularly updated, the goal of standardized codes is to create order and reduce bias system in which laws are applied differently from case to case. Common law draws from institutionalized opinions and interpretations from judicial authorities and public juries. Similar to civil law, the goal of common law is to establish consistent outcomes by applying the same standards of interpretation. In some instances, precedent depends on case-by-case traditions of individual jurisdictions. As a result, elements of common law may differ between districts. Common law marriage. A common law marriage, also known as a non-ceremonial marriage, is a legal framework that may allow couples to be considered married without having formally registered their union as either a marriage. While common law is not common among the US, there are a number of states that have statutes or allow for common law marriage if they meet certain requirements, including Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, the District of Columbia. A number of states including Alabama recently abolished the statutes allowing for common law marriage. In addition to these states, Lower Rhode Island and the District of Columbia allow for same-sex common law marriage. Special considerations. As judges present the precedents which apply to a case, they can significantly influence the criteria that a jury uses to interpret a case. Historically, the traditions of common law have led to unfair marginalization or disempowerment of certain groups. Whether they are outdated or biased, past decisions continue to shape future ruling until societal changes promote a judicial body to overturn the precedent. This system makes it difficult for marginalized parties to pursue favorable rulings until popular thought or civil legislation changes the interpretation of common law. Feminists in the 19th and early 20th century who fought for women's rights often faced such difficulties. For example, in England, common law as late as the 1970s held that when couples divorced fathers rather than mothers were entitled to custody of the children, a bias that in effect kept women trapped in marriages. Example of common law. From time to time, common law has furnished the basis for new legislation to be written. For example, the UK has long had a common law offence of outraging public decency. In the last decade, the authorities have used this ancient common law to prosecute a new intrusive activity called upskirting, the practice of sticking a camera in between a person's legs without their consent or knowledge to take a photo or video of their private parts for sexual gratification or to humiliate or distress. In February 2019, the UK Parliament passed the Voyeurism Offences Act that officially makes upskirting a crime punishable by up to 2 years in prison and the possibility of placing a convicted individual on the sex offenders register. Common law FAQs. What is a simple definition of common law? A common law is a body of unwritten laws based on legal precedents established by the courts. Is common law still used today? Today, the US operates under a dual system of both common and civil law. The courts, for example, operate under common law. What is an example of common law? A concept of common law marriage which acknowledges similar rights as those that have a marriage license to couples that are not officially married if several conditions are met. Is one example of common law in action today. Why is common law important? Common law places an emphasis on precedent while allowing some freedom for interpretation. The value of a common law system is that the law can be adapted to situations that were not contemplated at the time by the legislature. Thanks for watching.